Marketing is not the art of finding clever ways to dispose of what you make. It is the art of creating genuine customer value. Good morning to one and all present here. I, Akshi, a PGDM first year student, on behalf of Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, would like to welcome you all to this year's National Marketing Conference, Marketing in the New Normal, Unlearn and Relearn. As the world grapples with COVID-19, it is imperative to take into account what the post-COVID world is going to mean for those of us in the marketing realm. The disruption it wreaked upon the world impacted almost everything on this planet, so much that we had to make significant changes in our thought processes and our lifestyles. We had to unlearn and relearn several things to adjust to this new normal. After all, how can marketing, the domain which is a company's interface with customers for creating, communicating, and delivering superior value, remain quarantined? Thus, to examine the utility of past knowledge and experience in the changed environment and present new thinking required for developing new and impactful marketing strategies, we set the theme for this year's National Marketing Conference as Marketing in the New Normal, Unlearn and Relearn. Now, to move forward, I would request Shriyali Sharma to come up and continue with the proceedings of the conference.
This conference could not have been possible without the august presence. I would hence like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being a part of this national conference. Before we start off with the conference, let us take a moment to remember the man whose dreams and aspirations motivated others to work towards the common goal of the nation. The man whose basic idea of governance was to hold the society together so that it can develop as a whole and march towards the common goal. The man of masses, the man who was India's great son, late Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri ji.
सत्ताईस मई 1964 पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू का निधन हो गया। देश गहरे विषाद में डूब गया। सभी के मन में एक ही सवाल था, कौन बनेंगे नए प्रधानमंत्री, कौन करेंगे इस महान सभ्यता का नेतृत्व।
आफ्टर नेहरू के बाद कौन होगा, तो ये उनको इस बात का एहसास था। जब उनसे पूछा गया कि इस कमी को दूर कैसे करेंगे, तो उन्होंने कहा कि पंडित जी ने अपने व्यक्तित्व की वजह से, टावरिंग पर्सनैलिटी की वजह से उन्होंने इस पद को शक्ति प्रदान की, और मैं प्रयास करूंगा इस पद से शक्ति प्राप्त करने की, जिससे कि मैं देश की सेवा कर सकूं।
2 अक्टूबर 1904 के दिन काशी के पास मुगल सराय में जन्मे लाल बहादुर का पूरा व्यक्तित्व ही गांधीवाद का जीता जागता स्वरूप था।
उनकी सादगी, पहली बात तो धोती पहनते थे, ये आम आदमी को उससे बड़ा भरोसा हो जाता था कि हमारे जैसे है।
पिता की छत्र छाया बचपन में ही छिन गई थी। विधवा मां के साथ ननिहाल चले गए, वहीं पर परवरिश हुई। 1921 में जब स्वतंत्रता आंदोलन में कूद पड़े तो निष्ठा और दृढ़ता के प्रमाण मिलते चले गए। 17 वर्ष की आयु से स्वाधीनता तक लगभग 9 साल जेल में काटे। रहीमन हीरा कब कहे लाख टका मेरो मोल। पार्टी कार्य में उनकी निष्ठा से प्रभावित होकर नेहरू ने लाल बहादुर शास्त्री को रेल मंत्री नियुक्त किया, परंतु 1953 में घटी एक रेल दुर्घटना की नैतिक जिम्मेदारी लेते हुए शास्त्री जी ने मंत्रालय से इस्तीफा दे दिया।
उन्होंने वो इस्तीफा देकर राजनीति में नए मूल्यों की स्थापना की।
नेहरू जी के मंत्रिमंडल में कई विशिष्ट पदों पर अपनी छाप छोड़ते हुए वे गृह मंत्री नियुक्त हुए। 9 जून 1964 पंडित नेहरू के निधन के बाद स्वयं पंडित नेहरू के चहेते लाल बहादुर शास्त्री ने भारत के दूसरे प्रधानमंत्री का पदभार संभाला। कुल 4 शब्दों में उस मृदुभाषी व्यक्ति ने देश को एक नारा दिया, जय जवान जय किसान।
उन्होंने उस समय इस बात का एहसास कर लिया था, देश के अंदर हमें अपने जो भंडार है अनाज के उन्हें पूरा भर देना है और एक जो भारत के गौरव और गरिमा को देश विश्व में खड़ा कर देना है, वो अगर संभव है तो जवानों और किसानों की जय जयकार करने से ही है।
Lal Bahadur Shastri, Prime Minister of India, speaking on Independence Day in 1965.
हम हथियारों का जवाब हथियारों से दें।
5 सितंबर 1965 पाकिस्तान ने भारत के खिलाफ खुली जंग का ऐलान कर दिया। जवाब में भारतीय सेना पंजाब से सीमा पार कर गई। जब तक संयुक्त राष्ट्र की पहल पर युद्ध विराम हुआ, तब तक भारत की सेनाएं पाकिस्तानी सेना पर हावी हो चुकी थी।
वो किसी के दबाव में आने वाले व्यक्ति नहीं थे। जब ऐसी घटना होती है तो बहुत ज्यादा अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दबाव होते हैं। अगर आप दब गए तो झुक जाएंगे, वो नहीं दबे। लेकिन फिर शायद दोनों देशों की भलाई सोचकर वो युद्ध विराम पर राजी हो गए।
10 जनवरी 1966 ताशकंद। जिन आदर्शों के नैतिक बल का मजा वो पाकिस्तान को चखा चुके थे, आज उन्हीं आदर्शों की उदारता से उन्होंने समझौते के कागजात पर दस्तखत कर दिए। लेकिन अभी समझौते के दस्तावेज पर स्याही सूखी भी न थी कि उसी रात शास्त्री जी को दिल का दौरा पड़ा और उनकी मृत्यु हो गई। गांधी जी ने कहा था कि शत्रु का दिल जीतना ही वास्तविक जीत है। सुदूर ताशकंद में जब स्वर्गीय लाल बहादुर शास्त्री को कोसिजिन के साथ साथ खुद जनरल अयूब खान ने कंधा दिया, तो लगा जैसे शास्त्री जी बापू के फलसफे को चरितार्थ कर दुनिया से रुखसत हो गए थे। लाल बहादुर शास्त्री केवल 18 महीनों तक भारत के प्रधानमंत्री रहे, लेकिन अपने प्रधानमंत्रित्व के छोटे से कार्यकाल में शास्त्री जी ने भारत के हर नागरिक के कानों में आत्मसम्मान और आत्मबल का मंत्र फूंक दिया था। अपने व्यक्तित्व से उन्होंने निष्काम कर्म और पुरुषार्थ की वो मिसाल कायम की कि उनकी गिनती भारतीय इतिहास के सर्वोच्च महापुरुषों में होती है।
Moving on, we are fortunate to have leaders and eminent personalities from various areas with us today. We have the august presence of our chief guest, Mr. Harish Bijur, a brand thinker and practitioner operating out of Bengaluru. We are also pleased to have our keynote speakers, Mr. Sudhir Agarwal, Director, Product Development at Microsoft, and Mr. Bipul Chandra, the Managing Director of Ducati India Private Limited. We'll also be joined by Mr. Bart John D'Souza, Head Aerospace at Department for International Trade, British High Commission, Ms. Neetu Jaiswal, Head of Sales and Business Development, Orient Electric, Ms. Charanbir Kaur, Digital Marketing Lead, Hyundai Motors India, and Ms. Priyasha Chakravarti, Value Creation Strategist, Boston Consulting Group, as the speakers of the technical session, and Mr. Siddharth Balakrishna, Managing Director, City Network, as the judge of the paper presentation session. Thank you all for being a part of today's conference. Following the tradition of LBSIM, we would like our esteemed guests, Professor G.L. Sharma, Head, New Projects, Advisor, Corporate Interface, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Institute of Management, Delhi, Professor S.P. Ketkar, Conference Convener, Professor Praveen Gupta, conference co-convener, Colonel Ajay Sood, CAO, and Mr. Hitansh Gupta, Secretary Management Grid, to kindly come up on the dais, light the ceremonial lamp, and offer floral tributes to late Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri Ji. Please, sir.
शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
Now, we request everyone to rise for the Institute's anthem.
लाल बहादुर के सपनों का अनुपम अनुसंधान शोध और शिक्षा से करते सकल विश्व निर्माण सत्य सरल सुंदर जीवन का शिक्षा ही आधार LBSIM करती है सतत इसे साकार जीवन और प्रबंधन कार्य करके अक्षय ज्ञान छात्र यहाँ की नित्य बढ़ाते मातृभूमि का मान शास्त्री जी के ही सारे आदर्श हमारे प्राण LBSIM का प्रण है भारत बने महान भारत बने महान जय जवान जय किसान जय जवान जय किसान जयति जयति जय 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 LBSIM महान
I request everyone to please be seated. Thank you, everyone. Moving towards the course of the conference, may I now request Professor G.L. Sharma, Head, New Projects, Advisor, Corporate Interface, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi, to come up on the dais and officially set today's conference open. Please, sir.
Very good morning. This is really unusual that in spite of the heavy dose of COVID-19, 2019, we are holding a regular conference and seminar in this institute. Today's seminar, Marketing new norms. It's an unusual topic. If you read from the topic, it's very difficult to derive any result. What new norms? What are new norms? Very difficult, very difficult. But as the situation goes, 2020 January onward, there is complete change in the world. Living condition, production, distribution, marketing, sales, HR, even our daily lifestyle completely changed. This is because of the virus that has created a problem throughout the world. New norms, what would be? For that we have three speakers today. We have Mr. Chief Guest, we have Harish Bijnor, and then we have Mr. Vipul Chandra and Sudhir Agarwal, apart from the experts in the afternoon session. In the morning session, this one, we have apart the three speakers. And I hope these three, those who are expert, particularly the chief guest, who has a lot of practical and teaching experience, and who has worked in a number of companies, both in India and abroad. And fortunately, at present, he is also a professor at ISB Hyderabad and Chandigarh. Now, he brings both academic and the practice together, and then he derives the result. And he is the most sought after person to create new brands. So that's really something new. Apart from that, we have Mr. Vipul Chandra, who is a product of BHU engineer and also worked in various capacities. And we have Mr. Sudhir Agarwal, who is a product of Delhi University and also worked in various capacities in different companies. So these three experts this morning will highlight what are the new norms for the society as a whole, because marketing or sales embraces the entire society. Whether it's rich or poor, everybody is affected by the sales and marketing. So therefore, we expect that these three experts will give us new norms, new indicators, new suggestion that how next, well, at least 1 year, the company produce, reproduce, redesign their product, market their product, raise the necessary finance, and also sales and distribution, very important. As a layman, I like to make a few observations for the consideration of the expert. One thing, the internal communication in the companies have become very harsh, whether it is from HR, whether it is from marketing, whether it is from finance, or whether it is from operations. Internal communication has become very harsh. Whereas, to my mind, in such situation, internal communication must be very polite, inspiring, and confidence creation. What is noted here, as a teacher contacting various stakeholders in the last 6 months, the purpose of communication, internal communication, has been to remove as early as possible various person who has been some kind of hindrance, they call them, to them. So this is one important, and I would request the experts, both in morning session and afternoon session, that how internal communication can improve, can inspire people in the organization to work. Because to my mind, internal satisfaction, internal confidence creation is more important than external. No force on the earth, external, can demolish a company. But internal if communication is very harsh, it can destroy a company anytime. So this is one. Second observation I like to make to the expert, that the quality of the product or service is declining day by day. Whether it is a consumer durable, whether eatable, whether any other goods. I'm not aware about the aircraft and tanks and all that of the army, but particularly day-to-day things that we use, the quality is being deteriorated. Third point I would like to make is very important, because we in a Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, and we have professor from ISB Hyderabad and Chandigarh and other experts, the income inequality is being increased very fast. People below the particular line, it's increasing day by day. Nobody is looking after. So it is time that we, particularly in the academic area, should focus on how to reduce the economic inequality. Jobs have gone because major impact of this COVID has been on lower side of the ladder. Those drawing even 2,000 rupees, working in a domestic servant, helper, or in any company drawing 5,000, 10,000, or even 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs. Drastically, the number has gone down. So it is our responsibility as an academic community in Lal Bahadur Shastri Management, and the expert that we have this morning, I hope they will throw some light that how this income inequality can be reduced as far as possible. Now with these observations, I welcome the experts. I welcome the expert afternoon, and I also welcome Sri Anil Shastri, Chairman, Board of Governors, who will be joining very soon. I welcome Dr. D.K. Srivastava, Director of the Institute, who will be joining us afternoon, and all the students, participants of Lal Bahadur Shastri Management, I welcome them. With these observations, I feel the day-long conference will be fruitful, and particularly will throw light that how the production, marketing, sales, distribution, and other related area can be improved, or certain norms can be laid down that during the pandemic, at least in our country, the norms should be strictly maintained so that the life of the common man is normal, life of the man who is in the street having nothing to eat is improved. With these remarks, thank you very much, and I welcome you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to introduce Professor S.P. Ketkar, the conference convener. Professor Ketkar has more than 2 decades of experience with leading groups like Larsen and Toubro, Samsung, and Reliance. He has handled a wide range of responsibilities in business planning, marketing, sales, and customer service function. Along with being a visiting faculty at IIM Shillong, he was also a part of a financial startup called offering financial advisory services. Currently working as the professor at Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi, his work has been published in various renowned international and national journals. May I now request Professor Ketkar to introduce us to the conference theme. Please, sir.
Chief guest for the conference, Mr. Harish Bajur, founder, Harish Bajur Consults Incorporated. Keynote speakers, Mr. Sudhir Agrawal, Director Business Development at Microsoft, and Mr. Bipul Chandra, Managing Director, Ducati India. Delegates attending the conference, faculty members, and students. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this conference on Marketing in the New Normal, Unlearn and Relearn, and introduce to you the topic for today. I would like to start with the word normal. About 2 decades ago, if you saw any person on the roadside or in any public place talking to himself or gesturing to himself and laughing aloud, it was considered abnormal, right? But today, with mobile phones with their hands-free kits and Bluetooth, this is a common sight that you can see, or you can see people around talking to themselves, and that's become a normal today, right? That's perfectly normal. That's how it's changed. A year ago, an IPL match in empty stands was unimaginable, right? Every single match that was played in that tournament used to be full crowds at the stadium. But television-only matches are now becoming a new normal or a new way of life. Conferences like this, all right, were celebrations in the pre-COVID days. Venues used to be full, right? And this was considered an opportunity for professional networking, right? But that was then. Today, in this era of online format conferences, it is becoming more of an opportunity for networking professionals, right? In the sense that IT networking professionals are having to do much more work, or they have chance to showcase their skills and expertise to conduct such conferences. We are all staring at a new normal. Look at another example. About a year ago, when 2 persons met, depending on the culture that those people came from and the nature of relationship between them, right? A handshake, a hug, or a kiss was considered to be perfectly normal, or that was a normal way of life. But today, in a new protocol that we have, it has changed to hand hygiene, social distancing, and face masks, right? Pandemic has had an impact on everything that we are doing, every aspect of our lives. We are actually staring at a new normal, and we need to look at these changes today from marketeers' perspective and explore how we could respond to these changes to stay relevant and to stay competitive. Maybe one could start with the environment, right? That's the way we look at in marketing. We start from environmental analysis. So starting from the environment, whether we are looking at geopolitical environment or social environment, technical environment or technological environment, economic environment, every aspect of the environment, the macro environment, or every single dimension of the general environment needs to be relearned to identify the opportunities and threats that we are staring at from the environment. We may need to learn consumer demographics in terms of age profiles, age groups of our population, in terms of urbanization versus what we observed at the start of the pandemic, the reverse migrations, right? In terms of the population density that we are facing in India compared to other countries which may have much lesser density of population. In terms of nature of employment, we've just heard about a lot of people losing jobs. Their disposable incomes have gone down. in terms of healthcare facilities, access that we have for our population, and in terms of digital divide that's being discussed today, because everyone, like this conference, is attending online. So there's a access assuming a lot of importance. Besides demographics, we also need to be looking at, or we need to unlearn our old understanding of consumer lifestyles and consumer behavior, right? New needs such as sanitizers and face masks, these are the obvious ones, but these are just one or two examples. The fact is, the whole system of needs for human being has undergone a change, and several new needs, new wants, and new desires have emerged after pandemic, right? How consumers acquire information, how they evaluate, has all changed, and as marketeers, we all need to relearn these things. If you look at environmental changes together with change in consumer expectations, it's like playing a match on a completely new turf, and where the goalpost is changed and continues to change, right? In such a situation, how do we sort of respond to the environment? Marketeers will need to find answers by way of combining the elements of the marketing mix, and to continue being competitive, we have this conference that we've organized today where we have got experts who are going to share their experiences, particularly on how do we understand the new normal, how do we do business, how do businesses do marketing, how do marketeers unlearn and relearn, and what do we actually need to relearn. This session would be followed by a panel discussion in the afternoon, and there would also going to be a research paper presentation to get a perspective of academicians. We are indeed fortunate to start with Mr. Harish Bijur, a branding expert, as a chief guest for the conference, and Mr. Sudhir Agrawal and Mr. Bipul Chandra as the keynote speakers for the inaugural session. I am sure audience will make best use of what's being shared and gain some insights from the deliberations at this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for apprising us with the theme of today's conference. We are all looking forward to the enriching discussion lined up ahead. A brand is no longer what we tell the consumers it is. It is rather what the consumers tell each other it is. And that is why it is extremely important for a brand to brand itself right. With this, I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce our chief guest for today's conference, Mr. Harish Bijur, a brand thinker and practitioner operating out of Bengaluru. With an experience of 35 plus years, Mr. Bijur is currently running a unique boutique consulting outfit by the name Harish Bijur Consults, a brand name that has a consulting presence across the markets of Hong Kong, Seattle, London, Istanbul, Dubai, and the Indian subcontinent. Mr. Bijur has spent his career across the aggressive realms of FMCG, telecom, and consumer durables, with giants like Tata Coffee as the vice president and with Hindustan Unilever as the senior product manager. He is considered to be a marketing practitioner and thinker who is year on year ahead of the consumer thinking curve. Mr. Bijur is also a public speaker who speaks to corporate audiences across the globe in the realm of motivation, people management issues, brands, marketing, and businesses at large. He has spoken to corporate audiences across the world for more than 10,000 hours up till date. Being a teacher at the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad and Mohali for over 15 years, in addition to teaching at business schools in the US and Europe, he is a man with vast experience. Mr. Bijur has also published a book titled Marketing Trends, Smart Insights into the World of Indian Businesses, a serious book written in a style that is distinctly young and MTV-ish. He is also actively involved in research relating to rural consumer behavior, rural retail networks, and trade mechanisms at play. Mr. Harish has published papers extensively on the subjects relating to strategic marketing, branding, consumer behavior, retail networks, rural marketing, marketing research, and trend analysis, and also contributes regularly to business publications on the same topics. Sir, we are extremely honored to have you with us here today. I would now request you to kindly deliver the inaugural address. Please, sir. Sir, you are on mute. Kindly unmute yourself. Sir, you are on mute. Sir, you're still not audible.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, a very good morning to each one of you. It's a pleasure being here in your midst today. I'm going to be talking to the, honorable gentlemen on the dais, respected, people who run the organization, the physical audience, which is possibly in the auditorium, and very, very importantly, the virtual audience, which is possibly living in every tiny corner of India and possibly overseas. That is the new reality of new marketing, of new education, and new everything that you and I talk about. I have always believed that power corrupts, and I have also believed that PowerPoint corrupts absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I do not use PowerPoint as a manner of presenting my thoughts. So even today, you'll not see me with a PowerPoint presentation. I think addressing the young students who are assembled out here, I must say that you have chosen a brilliant set of years to study. I do believe you have invested correctly in getting a management education today, because it is my belief that there's zero opportunity lost for you out here when you study during the pandemic years and possibly a year after the pandemic. Very simply, using stock market language, you must always invest in a market when the market is down, and the market is really down now. There are no jobs out there. The job market is very, very tough. The increment market is very tough. The number of people out there in the job market is large. But thankfully and fortunately, since the market is down, you're in a study mode now. When you come out by the end of 2 years, let's say, the market is going to be hopefully up. And that seems to be great timing if you have invested into a management education now. I think as you and I look at the new normal, because the subject of this talk is marketing in the new normal, unlearn and relearn. I like that unlearn bit because we have to unlearn everything that we know in marketing and business. I like the relearn bit because we have to relearn every new reality that is in the markets that we are going to be operating within. So I'm going to speak to you for the next 17 and odd minutes. I've set an alarm to go off, and I'm going to run away from you after that. And originally I had planned to take a 10-minute Q&A, but I don't think that will be possible because your program has gotten a little off schedule. So I will welcome questions on my social media handles, which I'll give you at the end of the talk. So let's start. First of all, I think, we meet in the midst of a pandemic. We meet in the midst of a global pandemic. I think this is a time like never ever before. I have always said, the pandemic is a beautiful moment. I think it's a beautiful moment because I call it a comma moment. It is a comma moment. It is not a full stop moment. It is a comma moment. What is a comma moment? A comma moment is a pause moment. It is telling the whole world, hey guys, sit back. Look back at what you're doing to the earth. Are you doing right? It's telling people, get off the roller coaster. Are you doing right? It is telling people, re-explore your relationships. Are you doing right by ignoring relationships and looking at money, money, and money as the primary goal? So I think this comma moment is a moment which is telling us, take it easy, re-evaluate, get inclusive, get holistic, and get green. So I think you youngsters who are going to be out there in the market soon are going to be at a beautiful sweet spot, as I call it, wherein you're going to explore new marketing under the new normal, where you have to unlearn everything that you know and you have to relearn everything that needs to be relearned. So what am I going to do with you today? I've put together a set of 21 trends which are going to kick in the year 2021 for sure. Now, I'm going to be not having time to talk to you about 21 trends. So I'm going to talk to you only about 4 trends. I'm going to talk to you about 4 trends which are going to come ahead in the world of business and marketing, which you have to be very careful about. So the first trend, I'm going to label it as the world is your oyster. The world is your oyster. What am I saying? I'm saying this because, you know, in the old days when I was young, and possibly when many of your profs were young, we were always told by the older generation, young man, young woman, go out there, conquer the world. The world is your oyster. Not really. That has changed. In the month of April, I changed this terminology and I called it something different, and I wrote a paper on it. And I said, the world is not your oyster. The oyster is your world. The oyster is your world. And the oyster is your home. The home in which you live is your oyster. You can't get out. A lot of people are going to be working out of homes. 16 large ITES companies in India have declared it will be work from home forever. Ouch, that's a lot. 23 IT companies in India have said that employees will come to office only 2 days a week, which means that 4 days from home, which means that the home is your workplace. The home is where everything will come into. And that is the tendency that, you know, businesses have to seamlessly enter the home. Education has to enter the home. EdTech platforms. Universities must have EdTech platforms themselves. Education will come into the home. Grocery has to come into the home. Wet and dry grocery comes into the home. Entertainment needs to come into the home. Everything that you guys have been watching, you know, Amazon, Prime, Netflix, Halt, Balaji. Don't forget these channels. They're all coming into your home. In the old days, you used to go out. The restaurant needs to come into your home. My dear friends, I rest my case of saying the oyster is your world. The oyster is your world. Why is the oyster your world? The oyster is your world fundamentally because you are going to do everything from home. And if you're doing everything from home, the digital life is going to become very, very critical as opposed to the physical. So that's point number 1, which I want to leave with you. If you look at it, you know, retail needs to reinvent itself. Give you an example. In the old days, apparently in the era of my grandmother, there used to be people who would come home selling saris. They used to keep sari bundles on top of their heads in a white piece of cloth wrapped around. Some of the seniors here will understand it. And they will come to the house and they will knock on one door, and then they'll knock on 20 doors around in the neighborhood. All the women will gather in this one house. The sari man will open the bundle and he will showcase and sell the sari. This is old retail. My dear friends, the same thing is going to happen once again. The sari shop has to come to your house because the oyster is your world. That's point number 1. So point number 1, let me just close as saying the oyster is your world. Point number 2 then. I strongly believe, and this is only the second trend. The second trend is COVID cleaves the world. COVID cleaves the world. What am I trying to say? COVID is dividing the world. COVID is dividing the world. COVID is dividing, as per my research, the world into the 2 traditional divides of the haves and the have-nots. Haves on one end, have-nots on the other end. This is a very cruel pandemic. It is making the poor poorer, and it is making the rich richer. Think about it. As this happens, management students, management thinkers, management researchers have a big task to really think how to reinvent the world for the poor of the world. So the haves, please note the haves, everything will come into the home. As I told you, the oyster is your world. Everything will come into the home. But believe it or not, everything that comes into the home will go only into those people who can afford to have those things coming into their homes. And this is a time-tested one. In 2011, I wrote a paper on the poor of the world. And in that, I had looked at a trend which comes to roost today. And that trend is simply to say that this is a very old trend and it has been around for centuries. The haves, everything will come to the home. The have-nots have to go long distances to find these things. You will get grocery into your home. You're a rich man. But the poor will have to go chasing grocery into the markets and sometimes travel distances. Electricity comes into your home. It comes only into a rich home. A poor home will have to run behind electricity with batteries and, other chargers and lanterns, everything. Water comes into the home only of rich people. Long distances have to be traveled with pots on your head and on your waist to get water in. And this divide is the reality, and the same reality is coming to roost. COVID is cleaving the world into two. How do we take care of the poor of the earth? And I'm talking the earth, I'm not talking India. And that's a very, very important issue. COVID cleaves the world. The third trend that I want to talk to you about is simply this trend that says that digitalism is the new world religion. Digitalism is the new world religion. Digitalism. Every 100 years you have a new religion entering into our lives. We have had communism. We have had fascism. We have had, capitalism. We have digitalism now. Because digitalism is a great thing. What's the best way to make a friend? Physically? Becoming very difficult. If I was to ask you guys, how many of you have more than 500 Facebook friends? I will get the entire audience lifting up their hands, I'm sure. Can you have 500 physical friends? No. Can you have 500 Facebook friends? Yes. But can you call them friends? No. Let's call them acquaintances. Or let's call them networks. Networks. So if you really look at it, what's the best way to buy a power bank today? You want to buy a power bank for your phone. Will you go shop to shop? No, you will go to an e-commerce site. You'll go to Flipkart. You'll go to Amazon. You'll go to 2 other sites. Pick the cheapest one from there. What's the best way to make friends? Digital, Facebook. What's the best way to buy a power bank? Online, right? What's the best way to see a tiger? Of course, go into Tadoba Andhari National Park. Spent 3 nights there, 6 safaris. At the end of it, I actually physically did this. I saw 2 tigers for exactly 3 minutes. Wonderful. I felt happy. I came back home, sat in front of Discovery Channel networks and watched a full 23-minute, episode on the tigers in Andhari Tadoba National Park. So if you really look at it, that is beautiful. And the man, Mr. Nallamuthu, spent 2 years making that one film for 23 minutes. What's the best way of seeing something? I think it's digital. What's the best way to make a friend? Again, none of you will know this. It's called Tinder, because none of you know what Tinder is. Right swipe, left swipe, super like. None of you know it. But the point is, that seems to be the way the world is going. So typically, if you look at it, digitalism is the new religion, and this digitalism is the new world religion. This is the third thing. The last thing I'm going to speak to you before I leave you is this business of saying, hey, listen, guys, there is yet another big, big trend for 2021, and that is disruption of everything. This is trend number 4, disruption. Disruption is a world trend. Disrupting the world today is going to be this new language called disruption. What is disruption? I think disruption can be of many kinds. Disruption 1 is disruption by volition. You choose to disrupt your business model. LBSIM, the institute, chooses to disrupt its business model from the current way of working to a new way of working. That's your personal choice. You can do it yourself. You can call in external consultants to do it. That's one way of doing it. The second way of disrupt, that's by volition or by self enlightenment and by calling in external consultants to help you to do it. The second way of actually doing it is really this business of saying by government decision, disruption by government decision. I think 8 November 2016, if you remember the date, that was the day demonetization occurred in India. And that was a day when, I still remember coming back, I landed back from Delhi into Bangalore. My wife had called me up on the phone at about 8:30 p.m. and she said, come back home fast. I said, what? She says, come back home. 500 and 1,000 rupee notes are demonetized. I immediately checked my wallet. I had about 6 of them. I said, no problem. I mean, there will be some process. They will take it back. She says, no, come back. I went back home and on the way, she says, with your money, fill up petrol and come. That is what a lot of people did in those days. I went back home and on the dining table, there was 64,000 rupees. Well, 64,000 rupees in 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. There were some all laid out there. And I said, how have we got so much money? 64,000 rupees in demonetized notes. And then she says, women have a lovely way of storing money within their saris, within underdrawers, within, various places. And over a period of time, this money came out. Fortunately, it was well within the limit because the government limit was 2.5 lakhs of rupees. But think of it, that is disruption by government. So first disruption by your own self, by volition. Second disruption by government, act of government. And the third disruption is the biggest one, my dear friends. The biggest disruption is by act of God. COVID-19 is an act of God. If it's not an act of God, possibly an act of devil. But the point is, it's a divine act to an extent that none of us did this. So if you really look at it, you need to be really talking about disrupting yourself. I have always said, every human being, every business must have an ethos where you say, there must be a Brahma moment in your lives. The Brahma moment is when you're created, when you're just studying early, when you're just learning. That is the Brahma moment. The second moment is the Vishnu moment. The Vishnu moment is when you're preserving your life, when you have become a Grahastha, you're taking care of everything, you're taking care of your life needs. And the third point is the Maheshwara moment, where you should destroy yourself. You should destroy your business to recreate. I think COVID, Kal, and the pandemic time is a disruption moment. It is a Maheshwara moment for us. Go out there and disrupt. So my one message to youngsters out here who are putting in valuable years studying an MBA is go out there, create for yourself this Maheshwara moment, and then create for the world of business this Maheshwara moment. It's been an absolute pleasure being here with you. I will not have time for questions. I had laid out 10 minutes, but we have run out of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to promise you that if any of you have questions on the subject that we have discussed, if you do say that you were at this event at the LBSIM and you mail me, I promise to reply to you within 24 hours. So the mail ID is going to be harishbijur@hotmail.com. harishbijur@hotmail.com, which is HARISBIJOOR@hotmail.com. Alternately, you can catch me on social media. You can get me on LinkedIn. You can send in a question there, on Twitter or on Insta. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here. All the best and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for presenting and sharing such enriching views on the topic. It was a pleasure listening to you and your opinions. I'm sure the audience gained a lot from what you shared. Now, I would request Dr. G.L. Sharma to felicitate Mr. Bijur with a memento. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Soumya. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Sudhir Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal has a history of working in the IT and service industry. Currently working as the Director, Business Development with Microsoft, he has had a vast experience in the BD domain. Before heading on these leading roles, Mr. Agarwal has also served as the Chief Relationship Officer in Innovation Technologies India Private Limited, as Vice President with Thomson Reuters South Asia Private Limited, as Senior Director and General Manager with Oracle India, as Senior Vice President with SIFI Technologies, as Industry Manager with IBM, and as Head Sales and Country Manager with HCL Infosystems. Having gained experience from all these organizations and completing his bachelor's in commerce from Ramjas School, Delhi University, Mr. Agarwal has much more on his cap and is a man with vast experience. Sir, we're extremely honored to have you here with us today. I would now request you to kindly deliver the keynote address. Please, sir.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, at the outset, first, I would like to thank our institute for giving me an opportunity to engage with the leaders of future. And in what other time, like in the midst of COVID, or when we are, looks like getting out of COVID, world to a new norm. Building on Mr. Harish, wonderful talk, who had imagined that the whole world will be pushed back, will be locked? Who had imagined? Who had thought of? Zero movement of people and almost zero economic activity. Who had thought like this? However, this is a reality now. The way I try to define unknown and uncertainty are the only known and certain realities of the world, more so post-COVID. I think in our lives, we are moving from long-term planning through execution to medium-term planning and execution with all kind of agility built into our mindset. And please check, friends, I'm talking of mindset, because life is all about mind game. I'm just revalidating. I hope you are all able to hear me properly because of connectivity. Okay. So I assume I'm being heard.
Sir, you're audible.
Thank you. And my young friends, my future leaders, please note that we have been traditionally a hierarchical organization world. Please watch my words. Going forward, we are going to be more and more theme-based virtual organization. That means even the large corporations, they have monolithical organizational structures today, and you will find them, they will be more like task-based and lots of virtual organization. Friends, before I get to the topic, I would like to make one point to all of you, which I am a firm believer that staying relevant in today's time more so post-COVID, I think is the biggest challenge for anyone. And as we see this as a challenge, I think this is as well is the biggest opportunity for each of us. And each of us, when I say, I do include people, we say Gen X, Gen Y people. It is not only for youngsters, even people like us, it's the biggest challenge and equally the biggest opportunity. Not to scare you, but to familiarize you and prepare you. As late as November 2020, World Economic Forum has just said 85 million jobs which are today will not be relevant, will be irrelevant in next 5 years. But we shouldn't worry about it. Why? Because there will be new jobs, there will be new opportunities. These are some data I think it is important and it is good to know, to familiarize ourselves so that we are always, on our toes. We are always vigilant. We are always open to learn and watch for new things. Coming back to COVID, from a marketing perspective, I think I would like to actually share some of the use cases of my personal experiences and personal life during COVID. Friends, who would have thought that 5-star hotels will deliver food to you at your home? Who would have thought of? But when COVID happened, when the 5 stars were closed, they were used for COVID purpose. But if you really see, as they're opening up, people were still hesitant to go to the properties. So what they started doing, at least I can share with you, I personally experienced that they came up. Am I active there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think
we can hear you. You're audible.
Yeah. Thank you. So, I'm saying, like, who would have thought that 5-star hotels will deliver food to your home? So I started experiencing, because of certain memberships and otherwise, the 5 stars started, publishing their advertisement, and they started sharing their menus for the people. Now, what happened when they started doing that? We realized that they were shipping, they were sending these packets through the cars, through the luxury cars even. They had defined the distance that, within 5 kilometers, within 7 kilometers, they will deliver at home, and beyond that, you have to come and collect. Now, shortly we realized, I personally experienced that they started using the regular the delivery channels which the whole world is using. We realized they extended the distance limit of 5 to 7 kilometers to 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers. I also experienced that when they are delivering, they started attaching this hand sanitizer, small packets along with the deliveries. They came up with the special discounts. And another extreme, which I further experienced with them, and I'm sharing with you, that during Diwali time, they came up with all the gifts, Diwali gifts. And it was so different to experience that the price point was significantly different than typical 5-star pricing. Like you can imagine, if I may use the brand, Taj, giving a dry fruit box or a hamper for anything between 1800 to 2000. And when I happened to engage with one of the hotel property managers, he told me, sir, this time we know that people are not willing to spend. People are, first thing, they are not willing to spend, and then they don't want to spend so much money. So this time our pricing is very different. So friends, this example I have taken just to bring to you that first thing which was never thought of, it happened. Even these people, as they were delivering, they were learning and they were doing the course correction and they were fine tuning to stay relevant. Now in another property case, like I can share with you Hyatt, every week they come up with a, some specific food day and they offer up to 50% discount. And they deliver at home with no additional costs. Now, what I'm trying to share with you, these are the new norms. The marketing has to be thought through almost in a live environment. Almost, as they are changing, they continue to capture experiences, and they continue to course correct them. So this is one case which I can share you with our hospitality industry. Let's look at logistics as an industry, because I would like to share 2-3 industry experiences with you of COVID. So yet another one is during the home delivery. Courier delivery had almost stopped because when there was no activity happening. Then it started to open. So what they started doing, because now there was a new norm of people were scared of doing any kind of contact, any kind of touch. So initially when these people started thinking, they said that you will digitally sign. They carry a device and then you digitally sign that device, and they sanitize that after that, before that and after that. Then they further realized going forward that this is still people are not feeling. So they came up with a new concept when they will send you an OTP, which was there for some cases, but now it became a new norm. They will send you an OTP and you have to share that OTP with the delivery person. And it actually became contactless. Sometimes the delivery person coming and delivering a product without even taking any kind of confirmation from you. Possibly they are doing the geotagging. So what the delivery person comes now, your home has become geotagged, and the person possibly presses the button geotag, come and deliver, and moves on. So again, this example, if you see, while they moved from good old days of practices of doing business in a particular manner, they change. As they change, they realize they need further change. They still change. And so this is another case of, where we say the new norms are pushing us to continuously keep thinking and continuously keep reforming, continuously keep reinventing in people, process, and technology. And possibly one more example I would like to share with you of education. Because when this happened, this was a peak of a time when the semesters were going on, the schools were still, exams were there, and now the new semesters will start. So everybody in education system, and carefully I would like you to have your attention to this example. First thing, the entire academia system, what it has done, they started they adopted the collaboration platform. I think because there was no other choice that time but to adopt the collaboration platform for online education when the interaction started. Now I will call mostly this was like a fix. So we always say, like in India, you may allow me to say that, So this was like, Jugaad technology the education system has adopted. And which is rightly, because there was no way that overnight something could have been innovated, something could have been developed, something could have been delivered. And education, when we talk, it involves masses. So no way it could have happened. So very rightly it has happened. But I'm putting a huge but here. I hope we do not accept, I repeat, I hope we do not accept this as a new norm. I think this was a fix. We have done it. Right now, when we go towards online education and going forward as the COVID will settle, I would think that, there'll be a lot of on-campus, on-prem education, but I'm sure going forward it is going to be more and more hybrid model and from, one to multiple perspective. Now, when we talk of that, my limited point is, we all, and I would like to draw the attention of Institute specifically to this point, and also for students to take a note of it when I'm to all of you friends. See, we need to look at the kind of content we will need for online education. The content transformation, doing YouTube sessions, or doing PPTs and then voiceover. They might be okay, but then in the new norm, we would need to relook at the new way of transforming our content to digital content. Delivery. How are you going to deliver the content? It could be live streaming. It could be multiple systems, which will, technologies or the means which will be needed. For faculty, of our ecosystem in terms of our students, our faculty, our parents, our family, we would need to reorient ourselves. Then we may need AI-based tools. We may need artificial intelligence-based tools to monitor the interaction level, because these days there's a wonderful new practice of keeping the video off and I'm attending a class, I'm attending a session. Now, when this is under, if I say under the garb or under the compulsions of connectivity. But going forward, my point is that, when we are doing such online engagements, on the receiving side, we may have to develop new tools, new technologies to monitor that, what is the engagement level in terms of, is the student active, is the student, attending, or is the student participating, is the student, connecting. Those things we have to achieve now as the next. So the limited point is, under the new norm, as we shift, I think we have to look at newer things that we have to achieve. And one word of caution for especially friends, let's say if I take healthcare as an example, that whatever we have adopted during this COVID time, this does not become a means to exploit from a medium to long-term perspective. So I think there is a lot of caution, there's a lot of excitement, there is a lot of anxiety, there is a lot of uncertainty, but that's the opportunity. So I think I would like to stop here at this point and look forward that if any of my friends, my future leaders would like to, ask me something or would like to present a perspective, including a disagreement to, what point of view I carry, I would like to engage with my future leaders. All yours. Thanks. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such insights on the topic. The floor is now open to students for questions. They are requested to post the questions in the chat box, and I would request Mr. Anmol Sehgal and Ms. Akriti Dua to take over and moderate the Q&A session.
Thank Thank you so much, sir. So we have a question. So the question is that as the current time is demanding us to be more dynamic and adaptive, so is there a possibility of us somewhere down the line to forego all the USPs that we have already developed because the scenario has been changing?
First thing, when we new norm, our yesteryears, our present achievements, our present existence does not become irrelevant. We are only talking of, transforming. There are new norms, there are new practices, there are new ways of doing things. So it is not about or, it is about and. And when I say and, that means because even what we are looking forward, it won't come out of blue. It won't come, out of somewhere. It will evolve what we have been doing over times. But as Mr. Harish also had said, that, we have to keep unlearn. Even the theme of the whole thing session is unlearn. I think that is very important because mostly we are not so good at unlearn, and we all of us carry a lot of baggage. So I think this is a time to shed baggage, and keep learning through the unlearning. So what we have done so far, we have achieved so far, it will never become irrelevant. It really we need to be attentive to stay focused and keep looking, how do we keep moving from here? So it's not become, irrelevant. So it is not about Anmol, does it answer?
Yes, sir, it does. It does. But it also make me ask another question that what will happen after the post-COVID? The situation might come back to normal and there are some conventional methods that will be coming back rather than these unconventionals.
And I think as Mr. Harish again, shared the case of demonetization. If you notice, during demonetization, I shouldn't be promoting, but look at Paytm became, as a new model. When even a sabji wala, pan wala was accepting that. So two things happened. Just because I continue to use a brand Paytm, after that you see how many new apps, such payment mechanism, companies have come up. Right? Phone Pay and so many. Google Pay. Now today everybody is in that in the new. So two things have happened. One, you found new players coming in. Second, you saw maybe there was some settling because when people got some cash back in their pocket, so they are coming back to the old norm. But still, if you see comparatively, we haven't gone back to pre this thing, whatever this thing, demonetization, right? If you look at the numbers, it might have gone up and got stabilized and gone down, but it has not gone back to that. Why? Because now you have more audience, more set of people who are adapting to that. So even when maybe 10-20% of that has gone back, but it has added new user base. So this is what will continue to have that, in the education system now, the new programs will come. There will be a new outreach. You will have a new stakeholder joining the ecosystem. So this will never go back, in the reverse V shape. It will not happen because the new opportunities will come. So as I always say that, new challenges, new opportunities. So you will see new courses, new stakeholders, new platforms. So there will be you can say like, it will rationalize, it will settle down, but not that, it will go back pre-COVID. Because the market, it has opened up new markets, untapped, unthought of market. Does it make sense to you, Mo?
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Anmol. Now, I would request Professor G.L. Sharma to felicitate Mr. Agarwal with a memento. Please, sir.
Thank you. And receiving my mentor from you. Thank you, madam. And may I wish the best. Just share with you, even at the age of 57, I'm still contemplating to be a student again. And I think new norms post-COVID has, opened up that opportunity for me. So thank you very much. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, I would now like to introduce our next keynote speaker, Mr. Bipul Chandra, the Managing Director of Ducati India Private Limited. A storyteller by passion, salesman by choice, and a manager by outcome. Mr. Chandra is a man with 2 decades of experience and also an awardee of the Best of 2020 for the new Panigale V2. He has done his MBA in marketing from Banaras Hindu University and bachelor's in chemistry from Delhi University. He has tested his learned skills from these institutes in his professional experience that started off with him working as the tech sales officer with Berger, followed by him working as the assistant manager with Bajaj Auto Limited, followed by him working with Tata Motors for over 8 years at various profiles in the product management domain. Mr. Chandra then moved on to working with Ashok Leyland for over 6 years, where he was heading the LCV North India sales department. With a varied and multi-dimensional area of expertise, he is a battle-hardened field guy with many honors and scars to show. Mr. Chandra's experience in field and with man and machine makes him a successful team player, manager, and above all, a balanced human being. Sir, it's an honor for us to have you with us. May I now welcome you to give the keynote address and share your views with the audience. Please, sir.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It's just a couple of minutes short of being the good afternoon. And I am very happy to be here with all the students and the faculty members and the esteemed speakers, Mr. Bijur and Mr. Agrawal. Unlike the previous 2 speakers, I definitely have a PPT because I believe the department I am into. So I need to showcase some Italian beauties to all of you. That will keep the entire discussion lively. So let's start with something. And very honestly, I have stuck to the topic of unlearning and relearning. So I'm sure the points given by the previous speakers, they ring very true in the current scenario, and I'll try to build up upon them. So here, let me share my screen. So, because I'm not a Microsoft Team user, so I'm sorry I cannot use this thing, the background and all these issues. So let me try with my PPT if I can show it to you. I think the presentation would be on by now. I just need a yes from your side that the presentation is on.
Yes, sir. The presentation is visible.
Great. So, very short, I shall be talking about what we did. So what Ducati did during the pandemic and how we tried to turn this situation into, or this adversity into our for our benefit. What during this course, I'll try to also take up what a marketer should do and what's new in the new normal, which is the buzzword as of today. I'll start with automobile industry. We have been always treated as the elephant, you know, the big bulky brother of the industry. We have big showrooms, big workshops, a large sales force. The team is very, very big. The investment is very high, everything. And we always work in linear and sequential way. It is never a creative thinking given to the automobile industry. In fact, to quote the situation from the what you can say, big daddy of the automobile industry. So I have taken up this quote from Mr. Henry Ford. Any customer can have a car painted any color that he wants to, so long as it is black. You know why I have taken this quote? Because this is what automobile industry has always been thought of. We always think in one direction, linear, sequential, not so creative. Only in past couple of years, we have been given the tagline of being the new thought leaders. So this pandemic was a very serious situation wherein we could have shown that we can think in a different way. We can typically unlearn what has been with us for past about 100 years, and we can thrive and live in a new scenario. I'm sure, being the students of the management and being the future leaders, you would have seen in past couple of months, the automobile industry has shown a great figure, great industry figure. The sales have been about all-time high kind of thing. How this happened? We definitely let go of whatever our previous baggage was. We interacted with the customers in a very different way. We worked in a different way with our internal customers. I will take the point of Dr. Sharma here. He was talking about the internal communication. So I think this is something, a great lesson which automobile industry did inside of talking with the internal customers in a very, very positive and creative way, which enabled all of us to tide over this scenario and work in a very positive way to give us the never before kind of industry figures. Now coming to what industry should do during this unlearning and relearning kind of process. My presentation seemed to be very, very academic, but this is the way I have kept it so that I can give my thought process to the future leaders in a very typical classroom kind of way. Although I have couple of years behind me, but still I consider myself to be a student. So I have kept my thought process that way only. And I'm sure you all will bear with me. So during normal time, the communication focused is on operational benefit. But now, as a marketer, Ducati or any other company, we need to create a bond, find the relationship between the seller and the buyer. Why you should be buying my product? And the emotional spot, the correctness, the truth in my thought process, the reasonability in my logic, and everything needs to be clearly communicated to the customer. So what we did as a company, what Ducati did during the pandemic time, because there was no product to be sold, no services to be rendered. So what we did, we celebrated the history. See, this is about finding the relationship between the company and the customer. And the bikes which you can see on the screen, you would have definitely not seen. Because today Ducati does not look like what it was about 25, 30, 40 years ago. So we started celebrating the history that, see, this is the kind of bikes we have sold earlier, and you have many new bikes coming up. So Ducati is there for you, don't worry. For a couple of years, couple of decades, we have been with you and we'll be there. So we started celebrating our history, and I'm sure you will like these bikes because these are, for most of you, you would not have seen these kind of bikes before coming from a Ducati stable. Then we celebrated certain specific days. I have taken example of the Mother's Day, wherein we have showcased the product sold by us. In fact, many of you would not be knowing Ducati is as much or probably bigger seller of clothing rather than a seller of motorbikes. I'm sure it would be coming as a shock to all of you. But I sell more clothing than bikes. I sell more shoes than bikes. Because as an ecosystem, we sell everything. So what we did, you can see on the screen, we have taken the baby's clothing along with the riding suit which a mother may use. So it is about finding the relationship between the buyer, the customer, and the company. Incidentally, the yoga day and the motorcycling day, they fall on the same date. So we had found a way of connecting the dots over there. During the lockdown, What we did, again, the customer was not coming to us. We were not going to customer, but there were bikes in the market. So we started giving certain useful information, how to keep the bike ready during the pandemic when you have to keep it standing in the garage. So we started sharing information and we kept in connection with the customers. So this is about finding the relationship between the marketer and the buyer. You can see these are the photographs, some quizzes, some games we played. The middle one is the best one. The mountains are calling, but you must not go. For today's generation, we can loosely and crudely translate it into bulati hai magar jaane ka nahi. So this is the thought process we had, and I'm sure people would be having a smile on their faces, because this is how even grown-ups think. It is not you students only think that way. Every one of us are slightly naughty at heart. Now the second part, what we did, or what the industry is doing today as the part of UNLEARN and RELEARN, is phygital, finding the bridge between the online and offline marketplace. This is probably the most used word today, the most abused word today, but this is a reality as well. So we have to find the relationship between the online and offline marketplace, where the transition is seamless, smooth, what we are doing there, what we are doing here, because customer cannot come to you every time. So you have to find a way how the customer can get everything what he wants, and how you can sell everything what you want to sell. As in Ducati, you can see on the screen now, we have a configurator where the customer can go onto the online site of Ducati. There he can finalize his bike, put on all the accessories and apparels what he wishes to buy. He can get a quotation and he understands how the bike will look like and how much money he needs to pay. He will get a number. He can go to the store, he can give that number, he can pay the money, and he will get the material. So no need to spend further time in the showroom. Thereby, we are trying to limit his exposure to the outer world. We are giving a sense of security to the customer that, well, although our showrooms are sanitized, still you don't need to spend much time in the showroom on finalizing things. That you can do in the safety of your home. So this is how we are getting benefited from the online world and making it right into the offline world. Now, the very important part is the online content has to be very, very solid, and the PR agencies, the ad agencies, everyone has to be online every time and be ready with the new contents. So this is how we had some videos, certain interviews with the important people, so that there is a relationship between the company and the people who may be my current buyer, who may be my future buyer, who may be just a well-wisher. Next thing what we did, or what industry can do, is the analysis of big data. What I have pasted on the screen is the actual data I got from one of my online agencies about how many people are coming to us from what locations and all these things. Now this data means nothing. This is gibberish. But if my team is able to distill it further, how many people are coming from India, or in India, how many people are coming from Delhi, how many are coming from Lucknow or from any other city, probably I can use all my resources into that segment, into that location, into that area. That gives me more bang for my buck, as we say in today's market speak. So I get more out of my advertising money, I get more out of my advertising or marketing budget. So it is very important to analyze the big data. This has come up as the single largest thing in the couple of years by now, but I am sure during the pandemic time, it has taken the real significance. What has happened, I'm sure you would have seen, the next slide is about what is happening now in the market. This is actually the photograph of Economic Times for, I believe, a couple of days ago. So now companies are focusing on customized ads. How? Part of the success goes to big data. We all analyze where people are sitting nowadays. Have they moved out of the big cities, gone to non-metro cities? Have they gone to some other location? What kind of requirement or demand is coming from other locations? So this is the analysis and the result part from the big data. So you have to learn who is my customer. You have to unlearn, is he only in a metro city? And you have to relearn how I need to get hold of the customer if he's into a non-metro city. This is a very, very typical term, ARPU, average revenue per user. This is most used by the telecom industry, but as a seller, I think this is important for everyone. Because ultimately the business is not for charity, but it is for the bottom line as well. So what as a marketer we are supposed to do? We are supposed to help the other departments in selling their material in the best economical way possible. So giving the customer a reason to buy, which will impact my bottom line in the positive way. This also has a relationship with collaborating with other brands. Now, why I'm writing this? Because you all are aware Lamborghini is a great supercar brand. Incidentally, Lamborghini owns Ducati. So what we did, we created a numbered Ducati model, just 630 across the globe, in the colors of the Lamborghini, having the similar kind of design aesthetics, and started selling it. Obviously, as a company, I'm making probably some more money than a normal Diavel, but then it is giving a reason to the customers why they should spend more money and why all my models are already sold out even before I have actually delivered even a single vehicle. So this is about collaboration. Earlier, this was not the exact way, but now this has become the trend. And this is not only in something very hi-fi like a Diavel, Ducati or a Lamborghini, but it is something in a very, very small thing like category like biscuit. FMCG are also doing the similar things. So I'm sure this is one of the greatest example how you are using the situation to the benefit of your company by roping in other people by collaborating. So how the new normal has changed our lives? It has impacted the social behavior of the masses, which you can see there are social distancing norms, so many things have changed, and people have started living a very different kind of life. And the biggest casualty has been sports, and especially the contact sports like football, cricket, or any other thing, wherein people get in physical touch with each other. So what has happened? This has given rise to physical activities which can either be undertaken solo or with social distancing. Now, I'm sure none of the people gathered here would have ever thought that something as simple or as so-called lowly like a bicycle would be on waiting list. But cities like Delhi have actually seen the waiting list for a bicycle. What I have shown on the screen is actually not available in India. This is a Ducati bicycle. We still don't sell Ducati bicycles in India, but the fact remains the same. Our bicycles in foreign markets are also on waiting list. Why? Because people have actually started going solo in the market. What you can see in this screen is yours truly, Bipul Chandra, doing all these things on the track or on the off-roads. Why? We have seen sudden spurt in the participant list into all these activities which we do from Ducati's India side. Everyone is interested in leading a normal life and enjoying their life, but they are not into contact sports or they cannot gather as a group. So we have started organizing the track days and all these off-roading tracks, and people have actually started coming to us. They pay money and they enjoy their couple of hours out in the sun. So this is a very great example of how you are reusing your skills and your abilities, your resources to get the business going. What has happened, or what is the side impact or a second impact of this pandemic into personal life? So wearables, you all are aware, as I said, that people have started going into solo sports. So now to monitor their lifestyle and everything, they have gotten into wearables as well. So there is a spurt from manufacturers in giving new models, new earplugs, earbuds, earphones, new watches, new monitors, everything. So all these things have started going into uh, sales mode. And this is what I believe the communication from the manufacturer of such electronics items to the normal user about what all they can monitor, what they all can keep the data for themselves. This is something very good. So I am sure these things have a very, very positive impact on the normal life of everyone. And this is how we have gone ahead. So some final thoughts. I'm sure the pace I have taken to complete my presentation would not have been too fast for most of you. And so I have tried to condense some of the final thoughts in the last slide. So as a marketer, we need to communicate very creatively. We need to find the sweet spot between the online and offline avatars. We need to invest in the right technology. We need to make the purchases as a gratifying act, and we need to keep our ears to the ground and act fast. There's no what you say procrastination. You need to understand the market reality, and you need to react very, very fast. If possible, you need to act rather than react. So these are some of my thought processes of the new era, how to unlearn and how to relearn. Again, I will take the point of Dr. Sharma that the topic is definitely tough, and to condense your thought process in a capsule of about 18-20 minutes is definitely difficult because it takes lots of discussions and thought. The thought process is a very meek word, I would say. It's a thought battle, actually. So you need to discuss and thaw it out so that you can find out a way ahead. But these are some of my thoughts which I have shared with all of you. And once again, many thanks to the entire team of the Institute for having me here and listening me out. Many thanks. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to reply to them. Grazie.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. The floor is now open for questions. Students should now post their questions in the chat box. I would now request Mr. Anmol Sehgal and Miss Akriti Dua to take over the question and answer session.
Thank you so much, sir. So as you mentioned, has been most impacted by this pandemic. So what will be the best strategy for businesses to survive throughout this period?
Now, the question of yours is about the general management of the business, not only pertaining to the marketing side. See, the very first strategy, there are 2-3 points to it. The very first strategy I would say is, again, I will borrow from Dr. Sharma, is giving the confidence to the internal customers. Unless your own team members are assured about the future, they will never act positively and proactively in the market. So it is very important that everyone within your team is assured that yes, their jobs are not at stake. And then it is very important for the external customer to understand that the company is doing well. That's why I said communicate creatively. Even Ducati India did not have anything to sell during the pandemic time. We never left our customers. So there were slides on how to maintain your bike. There were slides on how to keep your mood up, everything. And the third thing, which is most important for the bottom line, keep your expenses under control. So if you can maintain, try to cut the flab. Do not spend money where it is not required at the moment. So just to take it in a lighter way, having an online conference is much better than having an offline conference, because then you need not only an auditorium and the travel expense of so many people, but also many more expenses. So this is a small but important example that for any company to survive and sustain during this time, expenses are the most important thing, which must be cut normally. not arbitrarily. There is a fine line of difference between cutting an expense arbitrarily and normally. So the company, the leadership should think into these lines. So I believe these are some of the things which can sustain an organization during these times.
Thank you, sir.
So also the way you were talking about that, now you can save the costing by doing everything online and not going for offline things. But the showrooms of Ducatis are really important for a customer. Ducati has been targeting the premium market. So I don't believe, as a personal opinion, that for Ducati to cut down costs for showroom is possible. Is it, sir?
No, Anmol, we never did that. And nowhere in my thought process you would have seen that I am saying to cut down the cost on showrooms. Even if you go to our Delhi showroom, which is in Arena, that's a 3-4 story showroom. And not only the showroom, but even the workshop is air conditioned. So it costs money to run such an establishment. We never cut cost. Rather, we spent more. Uh, on a global scale, Ducati has a 10 global rule kind of paradigm, which we follow at every showroom, wherein you are given a sanitized showroom as your right. So customer has the right to ask for sanitized showroom and everything. So we spend money on those things. What we say by going online or putting more emphasis on online channel is we inform to the customer that if you do not wish to spend time in my showroom, that's fine with me. I am giving you the similar kind of experience in an online mode. But if you are willing to spend more time in my showroom, you are more than welcome. Please come to us, have a cup of coffee, spend your time with your friends and families in my showroom, and go happily. In the process, if you buy something, that's fine with me.
Thank you so much, sir. So also, sir, that you have been working with Tata Motors as well for way too long. Now you have shifted to Ducati. How was the experience from shifting from a different segment to a different segment altogether?
That's a very nice question, but I would like to add two things to it. One, it is not only segment shift for me from car to luxury bikes. It was a segment shift for me from cars to commercial vehicles and then commercial vehicles to luxury bike. So now you can understand the impact was even greater. The impact was as if, I'm sure all of you would understand that when you buy an automobile, there are three kinds of cost attached to it. One is the cost of the bike or the vehicle, the insurance cost, and the registration cost. So the impact was as if in Ashok Leyland, the cost of the vehicle is equal to the registration cost of the vehicle in Ducati. I have bikes which are 50 lakh rupee ex showroom, 1 crore rupee ex showroom. And for that 1 crore ex showroom bike, if I go to Delhi registration, it will cost me 10 lakh rupee. And the cost of my vehicle in Ashok Leyland was 5 lakh rupee, 6 lakh rupee. So you can understand the impact it made on me. But yes, the changeover, the transition was a very rich and rewarding one. I learned quite a lot about the behavior of the customer. One thing is very important and common between all the customers, whether you are a commercial vehicle buyer or a luxury vehicle buyer, the money is money. So everyone wishes to spend as less as possible.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Professor S.P. Ketkar to felicitate Mr. Chandra with a memento. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ketkar and everyone on the dais. I look forward to meet physically all of you at the institute and take it from there.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Incidentally, I'm not very far off. My office is in Aero City and Dwarka is just stone's throw from Aero City.
Thank you so much, sir. It is indeed a pleasure to inform you all that we have the august presence of our beloved chairman, Shri Anil Shastri ji. Shri Anil Shastri, son of Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, second Prime Minister of India, graduated in economics from St. Stephen's College, Delhi, and did Advanced Management Program from Ashridge Management College, UK. He has done General Management Program from Administrative Staff College of India, Hyderabad, and Business Management Program from Tata Management Training Center, Pune. He has served the corporate world for around 2 decades at very senior positions. He is Chairman, Board of Governors, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and Technology, Bareilly, and also the Chairman, Board of Governors, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi. He is an active member of Indian National Congress and an active member on Twitter. Thank you, sir, for being here with us today. Now, I would request Ms. Soumya to present a bouquet to sir. Thank you. Moving forward, Zenith, the sports club of Lbsim, is releasing the year-ending edition of their magazine, Run Kaushal. I would now like to invite Shri Anil Shastri ji to kindly come up on the stage, offer floral tributes, and we would also request him to do the magazine release. Please, sir. Thank you, sir. For the same, I would now like to invite Dr. Gitanjali Sahi, convener, Zenith, Sports Club, Lbsim, along with Mr. Shashwat Dubey, member, Zenith, Sports Club, Lbsim, to come up and present the copies of the magazine Run Kaushal. Sir, I would request you to do the magazine release, please. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. May I now call upon Suramya, Coordinator, Events, Zenith, to come up on the stage and brief us about the magazine.
Thank you, Akshi. The genesis of this consequential club Zenith was made in the year 2015 with the countless hours of effort and dedication of numerous people who had same vision and dedication. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Suramya Bhatnagar, Events Coordinator and Sponsorship Head of Zenith, welcome you all to the respective guest, Mr. Bipul Chandra, MD Ducati India, respected GL Sharma sir, respected Anil Shastri sir, respected faculty members and students. For the lateral approach of mind, body and soul, sports play a major role in a student's life. Being an MBA student, getting associated with sports not only brings discipline in one's life, but also teaches you in the best possible way, time management, teamwork, and strategy building, thus preparing you as a leader for tomorrow. The inception of Run Kaushal was planned when the whole world of sports had come to a standstill during the pandemic. This was the time when we had to adapt to change according to the dynamic situations. Through this magazine, we have covered an array of topics around the world of sports, from the on-field action to the things that happen behind the scenes. Run Kaushal has it all. To quote one of the articles from this edition, Ducati, your way to sport. In India, Ducati sells its complete range of 27 bikes across the 7 different families from 800cc to 1.3-liter engine. Another article talks about football finances. We have tried to explain the importance of having a proper financial structure and optimization of resources for a team to be successful. It elucidates the fact that if you get your basics right, the results will follow. The magazine also covered the social side of sports as we captured Black Lives Matter movement, which put in perspective the influence of sporting personalities can have in a society. Besides this, we also express our sincere gratitude to the deserving yet uncelebrated personalities through the article Unsung Heroes. In each edition of our magazine, we have a separate column dedicated to sports analytics, which is the need of the hour. These articles bring to light the importance of evolving nature of sports and the crucial role technology plays behind the strategies. It also publishes the achievements of our students who have represented LBSIM in various peaceful tournaments like IIM Lucknow, IIM Kashipur, FMS, MDI, to name a few. And before I conclude, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our faculty coordinator, Dr. Gitanjali Shahi, who generously helped us in the inception of this magazine and in the journey of making it a huge success. Thank you so much, ma'am. We could not have done this without you. In addition, I would like to thank our fabulous content team led by our PR head, Siddharth Prasad, the design team who always come up with their new innovative ideas, and the editing team, which is led by our impassioned coordinators, Balu John and Rishabh Raj Singh. And in the end, I would like to conclude by saying that life is a game. All you need to know is how to play it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suramya. Listening to such great minds has been nothing but enriching. And on this note, we have finally come to the end of our inaugural session. I would now request Professor Praveen Gupta, co-convener of today's marketing conference, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Respected Chairman, sir, Mr. Anil Shastri ji, Director of the Institute, Dr. D.K. Srivastava, on dais, Dr. G.L. Sharma, and my colleague, Dr. S.P. Ketkar. Chief guest for today's conference inaugural session, Mr. Harish Bijur. Keynote speakers, Mr. Bipul Chandra and Mr. Sudhir Agrawal. All my faculty colleagues, Chief Administrative Officer, students and friends. It is indeed my privilege to offer a vote of thanks for the inaugural session. A great quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I quote, "The mind once stretched by a new idea never returns to its original dimension." I think the great quote said by Emerson in the global context still valid, and more so valid in context with our conference theme, Marketing in the New Normal, unlearn and relearn. We had very good deliberations, discussions, and address by the dignitaries, and I offer profuse thanks to each one of them. Mr. Harish Bijur, he talked about 4 new trends. He talked about oyster is your new world. Retail needs to be reinvented. COVID is dividing the world between haves and have-nots. Digitalism is the new religion, and disruption is the world reality. We are thankful to Mr. Bijur for enlightening us with the great thoughts. I also offer my sincere thanks to Mr. Sudhir Agrawal. He talked about the hierarchical change that is taking place in the organization. He also brought the hospitality industry, logistics, the education, and the content industry, which is undergoing a change. My sincere thanks to Mr. Sudhir Agrawal. Mr. Vipul Chandra, he talked about what we do, what a marketer should do, and what is in the new normal. He talked about the creative communication, internal customer. He talked about phygital and the combination of physical and the digital world which is taking place in today's world. He also talked about the big data analysis, which is very, very important in today's world. And he also suggested the students to act rather than react. We are extremely thankful to Mr. Sudhir Agrawal. It is my indeed privilege to offer our sincere thanks to our chairman, Shri Anil Shastri ji. He is the constant source of inspiration and strength to us in each and every activity which we do. My sincere thanks to our director who is traveling and he will be joining very shortly. He's always a guide to us, and he always advised us on so many matters, including the conduct of marketing conference. Dr. G.L. Sharma, always a source of strength for the institute. We offer a sincere thanks to Dr. Sharma for his inaugural address. I also sincerely thank my colleague, Dr. S.P. Ketkar. He has taken a lead in organizing this conference, and the theme was discussed with us, and the way he has conducted each and every activity, it is commendable. My sincere thanks to all my marketing colleagues, marketing faculty colleagues, as well as the students in marketing specialization who have taken the lead in organizing this conference. I also offer my thanks to Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Colonel Ajay Sood, because of his continuous support and lead. We are confident that we will be doing every activity successfully. I also thank my colleague, Mr. Naresh Wadhwa and Mr. Sachin Khera, all the administrative staff, all my faculty colleagues and students who have untiringly worked for the success of this conference. Thank you very much, and we are looking ahead for a great day in the technical sessions as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to the end of our inaugural session for today's conference. Thank you so much, audience, esteemed guests, and faculties in charge for being here with us today. A special thanks to Professor S.P. Ketkar, Professor Praveen Gupta, faculty members, and everyone else who joined in virtually for being a part of this conference. We will now be continuing with the conference in the technical sessions at 2 p.m. post the lunch break. Hope to see you all soon again. Thank you.